Hello, and welcome to Season 2 of the Empowered Learning Podcast. I am your host, Andy Bennett. What does it mean to live with purpose, to overcome pain, prejudice, and personal setbacks, and still rise with clarity and grace? My guest today, Lori Tsugawa Whaley, knows exactly what that looks like. As a third-generation Japanese American, Lori found strength in her heritage and healing in the ancient code of Bushido. After surviving a traumatic brain injury, she began sharing the principles that helped her rebuild her life, courage, compassion, integrity, with audiences from prisons to classrooms. In this episode, we explore Ikigai, Bushido, and what it means to lead a life that matters, not just for ourselves, but for the generations that follow. If you're searching for your why, this conversation might just help you find it. Hello, Lori. How are you today?
Doing well, Andy. Thank you for having me on as your guest.
Bet. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're super excited about the conversation. Lots to discuss at this point, but before we dive in, I want to start off with a humdinger of a question here. How would you, Lori, empower learning for future generations? I'm very interested to hear your take on this.
Well, thank you for the question. I am so excited. Last week, a lot of memories were brought up about working with Sarah Little Turnbull and how she changed my life. And it's about Ikigai, not Ikigai. It's Ikigai. No one wants to be the Ikigai. And it's to help people find their purpose in life. And it was developed in Okinawa, Japan in 795. And when I worked with the women in prison, I realized that they did not know their Ikigai. And so I started working with them. But now I'm so excited to work with the younger generation. And part of it starts with this book. Can you see it?
Yep. Let Us Get in Trouble. Yes?
Yes. Let Us Get in Trouble. And she got in trouble in the good way, always asking questions. So if you never ask questions, you'll never have the answer, right? You ask yourself the question and you will find the answer. And that's what I'm going to be working with, starting a beta program for adults and then working on this project for the younger generation and including the book. And we're going to be going to the Sarah Little Center in Seattle. And there's a lot written about her. She was just an amazing person. So that's what I'm going to do, help kids find their Ikigai.
I love it. I love it. So that was a new term to me. We've known each other for about a month now, but we've talked a few times and had mutual friends that kind of connected us up. But the God's honest truth, the first time that I heard you speak about this, I was like, that is one of the coolest things I've ever heard of. As a guy, right? I'm thinking like, Bushido, we'll talk about, some samurai stuff. Like there's kind of the guy stuff, but there is like this code of honor that is just very revered and I have nothing but respect for that. Ikigai, I had heard a couple times before, but and I'll show a graphic of yours a little bit later that kind of gives a better depiction of what that is, but all of it, front to back, it's just super interesting to me. I'm super interested to learn more and to share that with our audience today. So super excited.
Thank you. I'm super excited too.
Awesome. So before we dive in, Lori, if you wouldn't mind, let's learn a little bit more about you, and then we'll get back to Ikigai and Bushido and all that kind of stuff. So for those that don't know, and I did put that in the introduction, you've got a pretty inspiring journey up to this point. So can you share some pivotal moments from your life that you realized the impact of your Japanese heritage and kind of how that helped you get through your some adversity?
Yes, well, I was born, believe it or not, a farmer's daughter, and I hated it. I did not like working. I didn't like dirt. I didn't like going out in the rain and working, but it taught me a lot about working hard, perseverance, diligence, all those good lessons that I didn't appreciate until I got older. In fact, I didn't even like my Japanese heritage because I was teased and bullied, faced racial prejudice, and even beaten up one time, not beaten up, but punched in the gut. So I did not want a lot to do with my heritage, but there was nothing I could do to change it. But as I got older, there were little seeds planted in my life. And one of them was with Sarah Little, who is the author. Well, her center is the author of that book. And she always shared with me how Japanese I was and told me I ought to go to Japan And so as a young bride, my husband and I did go to Japan, and I loved it. I loved it. They gave me a copy of our family crest and our family crest and the family tree. And I said, oh, thank you very much. I didn't realize how important that crest was. So fast forward, raising a family. And then in 05 and 07, I was rear-ended twice. And the second one left, I was diagnosed with mild traumatic brain injury, and nothing mild about it, just means it was a closed head injury. And I was reading at a 7th grade level, and I did not want to be in that position. So I started searching my Japanese background and found out that the samurai, I read about the samurai, they live by that code of ethics, which I also teach about. It's called the code of Bushido. It entails courage, integrity, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. And so then I started looking more. And when I found our crest in my research, I go, look, I told my husband, look, this is our family crest. It's part of the samurai of feudal Japan. As it has the stylized sword and the leaf that looks like a heart. It's part of the samurai lineage. So I started really researching that, and I set a goal to write a book. And I thought, if I write the book, I'm going to overcome traumatic brain injury. I won't be a burden on society because I can do much. So I wrote the book, and it was published in 15, and in 15, and then on Amazon, it went on 16. And then in 18, I was offered a contract with Tuttle Publishing. And then in 20, it became an international book because it was published by Tuttle Publishing. So I was thrilled. And now it's in German and Arabic as well as English. So I love the code of ethics. There's good morals never go out of style. And then further, I was learning about Ikigai, and I thought, this is what I need. This is what I'm trying to do, figure out my life and rebuild it. And Ikigai really did help me finding my purpose in life. My purpose is to share about the code of Bushido, Ikigai, and Ganbaru. And actually, I added kintsugi to what my repertoire, shall I say. And it's all about Japanese philosophy, the heritage. There's also wabi-sabi, there's shibui. There's so many principles that have helped my life. And I want to share this with others so that can help them too.
That's fantastic. I love it. I couldn't keep up with all of the awesomeness that you were laying out on me. So
sorry.
No, you're good. We'll circle back around on that. So you mentioned Ikigai, and I know you've got a master class coming up. I'm going to give you some opportunity to talk about that a little bit. But I did find this, if this is okay to kind of share, and let's kind of,
thank you.
Yeah, you bet. To kind of break this down a little bit, because for some of the listeners, this might be the very first time that you've heard this term. So I'll let you kind of read over this as Lori kind of explains it a little bit more in more detail, if you can.
Oh, I appreciate that, Andy. Ikigai, Iki is life, and it's your reason for being. Ikigai, find your purpose in life. And it's intersection of what you love, what you're good at, that's the second, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And so you put those all together and you find your passion, mission, career, and vocation. And that's what we'll be working on in the master class. And when you put those all together, it's called Ikigai. And the Okinawans say, if it's not what the world needs, then it's really not an Ikigai. It's more about me. Ikigai is about how you can contribute to the world. And I think that's really beautiful. It's Japanese philosophy, because they are very unassuming people, and people even tell me that I'm unassuming, but I'm very Japanese up here. I think very much like Japanese. And when I go to Japan, I just feel so at home. I'm taking a group next year, but I'm also doing this master class, and it's going to be exciting because I'm adding the part of the Sarah Little Center and how she helped me find my Ikigai by exposing me to Japan. And she had been to Japan many times, and she always told me how Japanese I was, and I didn't. She said, I think you ought to go to Japan. And my husband and I did for a little over a month when we were first married. So Ikigai is wonderful. And there's so many good little sayings or practices or principles from Ikigai. And one of them that I love is it's called Hachi Harabu. That means eat until you're 80% full, not like Thanksgiving dinner kind of full.
You're telling me now here. I could have used this about 3-4 years ago, right? No, that's really good. That's
It
very
is
very
good.
wise.
They exercise together, they
Mhm.
drink tea, they it's just wonderful. They help each
Mhm.
other, and they live in, like, I believe, 31 wards on the island of Okinawa. And
Okay.
there's no public transportation, so you use your
Hmm.
bike or you walk, or maybe
Okay.
if you're fortunate, somebody that has a car.
Right. Interesting. Wow. Wow. So much to unpack. It's so cool. I'm going to give you some opportunities to kind of share where people can find out more about this. I think your masterclass that's coming up in November, I don't think that this will be published by then, so unfortunately that may miss the mark there. However, I'm assuming that you're going to continue your mission and have other awesome events in the future here. So
Yes.
we'll get you the website for everybody to kind of check out Lori's great content and wonderful things here. But let's just take just a quick second here to kind of break this down if we can. So, and again, you've already kind of explained it, but I'm taken with the idea of something that you love, right?
Yes.
Something that the world needs. Okay, that makes sense. And you kind of even talked about the fact that sometimes you may love something, but it's not something the world needs. So that really doesn't clarify, or that doesn't
No,
really
it doesn't.
qualify, right? Yep. Something that
But
you can get paid for. I'd love to get your take on that because as someone that makes his living getting paid for services and things like that, there's definitely some I don't know, misconceptions about sales and that kind of stuff, and then something
mhm.
that you're good at. So yeah, let's just start from the top. Like what is it about that first I don't know, principle, first circle where your passion and your mission are something that you love? Why do you think that is just super important in defining your purpose in life?
Oh, I believe because if you don't love it, it's just, you could be like a hireling. You could be very good at it, but if
Right.
you don't like it. I met a woman that was a professional, highly paid, but
Okay.
she says, I don't like this. I said,
Right.
well, let's discover some of the things.
Sure.
So even if maybe there's a little tweak on how she does it, there
Hmm.
are different ways of approaching your services. Some
Right.
people like to be, in person. Some people like it online.
Right.
Read about a woman who says, I do everything online. And I'm thinking,
Mm.
that's not how I want to do it. I want to be able to be with people and
Sure.
interact. To me, it's like, it's almost robotic. It would be robotic for me. And what
Right.
the world needs, you
Hmm.
find these things, and you, in the workbook, you will list these out and find out what would fit you. You can also
Hmm.
ask people, what am I good at? What do
Right.
you see? What do you see as my natural talent? And your parents probably, when you were younger, would say things to you about how
Hmm.
you were good at doing things.
Right.
And I always wanted to do things that were artistic. And my mom would say,
Mm-hmm.
well, what can you do with that? I said, well, Mom, I don't know, but everything in my life has to look nice.
Yeah.
I really like things to look nice. And that's why I
Hmm.
love Japan. It's so beautiful. It is
Hmm.
so homogenous, and it's just beautiful. So it has to be something you love, because otherwise it'll be drudgery, and it'll be
Yeah.
you'll
Right.
you'll go into maybe unhealthy habits, like people that have
Absolutely.
addictions,
Hmm.
that type of thing. And then that's
Right.
where the code of Bushido comes in. You
Mm.
stay within that moral framework. That's so
Okay.
important.
Got it. So the one last one that maybe we didn't touch on that again, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on is, obviously, I'm speaking. Hopefully, I can kind of make this balance between podcast host, business owner, education leader, and that kind of stuff, but also a parent, right? I've got two young boys that are about to enter the world, so my mind is kind of on multiple levels as to how this applies, right? We definitely want to tell our youth, pursue something that you love, find something that the world needs. That's a moving target, right? Especially with technology, like you had said right before we got on. The world is a very different place now with the doors that technology opens. Obviously, you want to find something that you're good at that will help you to love that. So all of those, I think these three, 1, 2, and 4, are a little bit more what's the word? A little bit more on point. That those are pretty obvious. I think and maybe this is just me, I think the third one here of like, how is it that you can do all of these things and also get paid for those? that might be a little bit of a tricky thing. So I would love to get your take. Just yeah, would love to get your take on that. How do you balance that one in there as well?
That's a tricky balance
Right,
because
exactly.
people that are, more the right side, like
Hmm.
me, you need help, or I need help. So
Hmm.
that's how we met, actually, was in Jay's class.
Right, exactly right.
Jay
Yep.
Jay Lee's class in Sales Ninja. So
Hmm.
that's putting those things all together, and it might be something that a person's not comfortable with.
Right.
Any one of them could be something that a person's not comfortable with.
Hmm.
Then you seek out help.
Sure.
You start looking for things. You like just recently this year, I've been very much more active on LinkedIn, and it's been very
Hmm.
helpful for me
Okay.
finding interesting people. And um, I had a conversation with somebody that I met on LinkedIn, and I spoke to him about Ikigai, and he thought that was great. He says, I've gone from Ikigai to Ikigai, and
Yeah.
it was great. He's already very successful. In fact, he's legendary, and in 2 years he got 20,000 people on his podcast.
Wow. That's
Yes,
impressive.
it is. And so I'm going to be, picking people's brains like that
Hmm.
that can help me, because I believe that everybody needs help, because maybe somebody that is good in sales maybe needs a
Hmm.
little smoothing around the edge, shall we say,
Sure. Yep.
because we deal with people and emotions, and
Hmm.
it's, you have to have, the love and what the world needs, and
Hmm.
what you're good at. But I believe that what you can get paid for,
Hmm.
that's important, but it's also a learnable skill.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I think out of that group, Jay Lee's group, I got this right here. Do what you do best and outsource the rest, right? So
Yes.
obviously you are very good at explaining Bushido and Ikigai and all this kind of stuff, and you've got, heritage from that, so you can kind of speak from a very personal spot. I'm right there with you. There are certain aspects of this that I may need help on. So reaching out to those other people, outsourcing that, or building a community. I know that that's an important aspect that you talk about a lot as well. So love it. Very, very good. Let me shift gears a little bit on you, just because
Sure.
time flies when we're having fun here.
Okay, we are having fun.
Right. So you've mentioned Bushido again. Anybody that's watched an old samurai movie or something like that, I've heard that. Obviously, there's a lot more to that than samurai movie. So I'm going to let you kind of expound upon that. But how can the ancient code of Bushido be relevant and applicable in modern challenges, particularly for like education and leadership? That's our main clientele at this point. So how does Bushido, how is that applicable and useful for our modern leaders and education folks?
Oh, it's so important, because I believe, and I've said it before, good morals never go out of style.
Hmm.
Courage, integrity, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. And what we teach our younger generation it's affecting us already. And what we want to do is give them the good moral foundation. Bushi is warrior, Do is the way. So it's the way of the
Okay.
warrior.
Way of the warrior. You said
Hmm.
good morals never go out of style. Is that what it was?
Yes, it is.
Never.
And they help us. For instance, the schools in Japan, that could be something we look at. The
Hmm.
children are the janitors.
Okay.
They also serve each other lunches. So if
Mm.
there's a janitor, they're not going to be marking on the walls,
Right.
right? Because and even when you walk down the streets in Japan, you don't see a lot of garbage cans. You take it
Uh-huh.
with you, and you don't
Right.
litter, and you don't eat when you're
Mm.
walking along the road, and you don't go on your cell phone. For the most part, they do it on the subways and on the
Sure.
trains, but not when you're walking down the street, because that could be distractive.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. Interesting. I love it. Can you mentioned a couple times, and I apologize I didn't grab that graphic. What were the tenets of Bushido? You've mentioned them a couple times. I want to make sure I get those
Okay,
down.
is courage,
Okay. Okay.
integrity,
Okay.
benevolence,
Okay.
respect,
Not a room here. Respect.
honesty,
Okay.
honor,
Okay.
and loyalty.
Love it.
Yes. And for example, in Japan, after the tsunami, where everything was devastated. They didn't steal from each other or loot. They returned in the first 6 months over $70 million.
Wow. Wow. That is a different mindset, shall we say, than us in the Western world, sad to say.
It is.
Sad to say.
They just say I believe that the Kodo Bushido has permeated the Japanese society, and that is why it is one of the safest countries in the world to visit, and the people are so kind, and I love it. It's my happy place.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It is.
I've flown through there a couple times, but I'm now more than ever excited to go back and actually visit and not just fly through the airport there. That sounds amazing.
It is amazing.
That's wonderful. So again, let's kind of shift gears a little bit. You mentioned some of the adversity that you'd overcome. So would love to get your take on that. So many leaders face personal and professional, there we go, challenges. What advice would you give them about finding strength in difficult times?
I believe the Kodo Bushido is very helpful, and it was God's mercy that I went from 7th grade and chronic pain into being a functioning adult, because during that time I could do maybe one appointment a day and then have to come home. Sometimes I get lost. You have to search through to get the best advice, because what ophthalmologist told me that there was no correlation between reading at a 7th grade level and traumatic brain injury. And had I listened to his advice, I wouldn't be able to read. Because one I was tracking, the other was all over the place. So I went through about 3 years of vision therapy so that I could read.
Wow. That sounds like a long journey.
It was. Yeah. And I went through speech pathology. I didn't even know what a speech pathologist. I thought, I'm okay. I can speak okay. But the speech pathologists take 2 routes. So they go the cognitive rehabilitation or the speech. And mine was specifically cognitive rehabilitation.
Gotcha.
So I spent many hours with the speech pathologist and doing all kinds of exercises and homework, but it was worth it. And I wanted to give up so many times. I thought, this is so hard. And I don't want to do this. I would think that. I wouldn't say it to my therapist, but she, she had empathy for me. She goes, I know it's hard for you. She says, most people quit, but she says, you're one of the few that continue to do it. So you will succeed. And yeah.
Right. That's great. That's wonderful. So you've talked obviously very passionately about the impact that Bushido and Ikigai have had on you. Do you have any examples, or can you share any stories of how those principles and concepts have helped other people in their either personal or professional lives?
Well, facing the truth, being an honest person. And I would ask the women sometimes when they got a little testy with me, I would say, well, you have to examine the reason that you are here, but I'm here to help you.
Okay.
And just in your everyday decisions, you think, well, this is just a little something, and people won't mind. And you go to the store and you pick up something and they don't charge you for it. Do you keep it? Or do you say, let's count that over again? And maybe it's only $1 or $2, but in your heart that you've done the right thing, and that becomes easier to do the right thing all the time. Like fudging here and fudging there is really not. Is that being honest?
Right.
And benevolence is to be kind when you can be nasty. Don't be ranting and raving on social media. I just usually don't respond. I always do give good content and talk about Japanese principles and how that has shaped other people's lives as well as my own. There's so many. And when in my book, Let the Samurai Be Your Guide, I spoke about the 100th 442nd Nisei soldiers, and they were without equal. They received over 18,000 medals, and they're the highly decorated unit in U.S. military history for its size and length of time in service. And they did it to show loyalty. Wow. And they did it so that people like me, the generation underneath them, would have better lives, and they wouldn't have to face what they have faced and our grandparents have faced.
Wow. That's impressive. I was trying to pull up a book here just so I could kind of share that with you. So while I'm doing that, would you mind kind of sharing a little bit? It's am I correct? It's Dakota Bushido. Is that the name of the book?
Yes. Well, let the samurai be your guide.
Oh, okay.
And just FYI, it's not samurai, it's samurai.
Samurai. Okay, very good.
Samurai, like
I
awful
appreciate
samurai.
that.
Samurai actually is Japanese, but if you say it like the movie, The Last Samurai, I
Uh-huh.
saw it and it just resonated with me and it's
Hmm.
kind of piqued something in me. I asked my dad about being samurai and he kind of didn't really know, but he thought so. But now I
Okay.
do know after
Yeah,
doing
right.
research. Yes.
That's
And
wonderful.
and if you don't know about the World War II Nisei veterans, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's my they were amazing and they helped save the Texas, the Lost Battalion in Texas of Texan soldiers. And so were made honorary citizens. And another time they climbed up this mountain in the middle of the night where the other Allied forces could not permeate that. And they,
Hmm.
within 30 minutes, overtook them because if they had fallen to their death, they couldn't cry or scream or anything because they would have been found out. So some soldiers did fall to their death, but a lot of them they were like ninjas. They climbed up the mountain, and no
Mm-hmm.
one was expecting them to come in the middle of the night, but they came and they surprised them and they overtook them.
There we go. I got it.
Yeah,
That look right.
that's my ebook.
There we go. Very good. So, Lori, as we kind of wrap up here, I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of, I'm sure that there's many people that are very interested in kind of leaning into this idea. So, for listeners wanting to embrace Bushido, Ikigai principles, this kind of stuff, what are some practical steps that you would recommend that they take here moving forward?
Well, I have actually a guide. It's called the Bushido Guide, and I would love for you if you want to put my email up there. I can send it to any of them. And my email, just a plug for my email,
There you
it's
go.
good. It is not about ranting and raving. It's not about. It's just about good principles. What I've been talking a lot about is Ikigai because it has been resonating with people. And I actually like them. I like all of them because Ikigai, knowing your purpose, Kodo Bushido, that moral framework, and
Mhm.
Gambaru, never give up. They go together. But right now, I'm starting on Ikigai because that's where it starts. Ikigai, Lori at LoriWhaley.com.
That's what I thought. I was double checking here. I wanted to make sure I got it right.
Yes, and my email is LoriWhaley.com.
There we go. Lori at LoriWhaley.com. Yes.
Uh-huh. That's
Okay.
my email, and my website is LoriWhaley.com.
There we go. Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm trying to think here. I want to make sure that we give the proper, time to kind of sit within and let this resonate a little bit. As we wrap up here, what message would you, and I do have a couple of closing questions here, but what message would you like to leave with our listeners about overcoming adversity and leading with integrity? What would you like to leave with them?
Well, the word that comes to mind or this phrase is do the right thing all the time. Do
Okay.
the right thing all the time. And when you do the right thing, success it will bring.
There we go. I love it. Do the right thing all the time.
7 principles, 7 words. Do the right thing all the time. Right.
Hey, looky there. See what you did. Very good. Sorry if that's not coming through right there. I'll make sure that is in the show notes right there. So, Lori, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I mentioned right before we started that 30 minutes flies by super, super fast here. So I knew that it was going to feel like we were rushing. I hope it didn't feel too rushed to the listeners here. There was just so many wonderful points that you had that I wanted to make sure that we had time to get through here. So as we wrap up here, I had a couple questions for you. We've already asked how you would empower learning for future generations. I think I know the answer, but I'm very interested to hear your answer to the second one. Who is a leader that you most admire and try to emulate?
I would say Chune Sugihara.
Okay, how do we spell that?
Chiune.
Chi?
Hiune.
Okay. U-N.
Chune.
G-
Sugihara. Sugi.
G-I.
Hara. Born on January 1st, 1900. What an auspicious day. And his
Right.
life really inspired me. And I was going to write the whole book about it, but books have been written
Mhm.
about it. I wanted to include other Japanese and Japanese Americans.
Okay. Very good. You also mentioned at the very top of the show when we were talking before we got on, the Sarah
Sarah
Small.
Little Turnbow.
There
Sarah
it
Little
is.
was good, yes. And I realized how much of an influence she had on my life. And so I spoke briefly to Paula, who was in charge of the Sarah Little Center in
Right.
Seattle. And I'm going to incorporate that into the Ikigai for kids.
Okay. Wonderful. So
Yes.
two wonderful folks to check out their teachings and that kind of stuff. And then our last question here,
And
Lori.
God.
And God, yes, I
Yes.
did notice that you had that in there. I kind of figured he was probably on your list as well. All right, just kind of a fun one here, just as we're all about lifelong learning. I'm sure that matters to you as well. What is some learning that has most impacted you in the last year?
It was Man's Search for Meaning
Okay.
by
Who wrote?
Viktor Frankl. I think it's
Oh yeah.
VMK. And he was searching. He wanted to know, why does some of the prisoners make it and some did not? And it's
Right.
because the ones that did had their why. And knowing your why
Mhm.
is so important. That's what Ikigai is. What is your why?
Right.
And he said that kept him going, because I won't tell all the details, only about 100, a little over 100 pages, but it's wonderful. It's just, once you read that book, you won't feel sorry for yourself again. It's just, you look at their conditions, and
Hmm.
plywood bed, like three stacked high, I think it was, and they slept on boots and
Hmm.
wrapped themselves in coats if they didn't have blankets. So
Right.
they really, and their food was so minimal, so
Yeah.
minimal.
Yeah. Yeah. It a little context of what other people have overcome and lived with and lived through to come out the other side and be successful is sometimes just what the doctor ordered to kind of
Yes,
get over ourselves a little bit, right?
yes. My
Wonderful.
mom used to tell me, "Who do you think you are, the Queen of Sheba?" And I didn't
Yeah.
even know who she was.
Yeah, that's funny. It sounded important, right?
Yeah, so I figured it. I mean, I had to research and look her up and see
There
what
you
she's
go.
all
I love
about.
it. I love it. That's too funny.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Lori, thank you again for your time. We really appreciate it. I look forward to ongoing conversations with just you and me. I'm very interested in learning more. And again, for all of our listeners out there, I hope that this was that you found value of this. I would love for you to help us to grow our community. We are coming into our second season, obviously, and the more listeners that we can have to hear this wonderful content and share this would be the better. So, empoweredlearningpodcast.com. You can find us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify as well. So thank you again, Lori. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes. One last word.
Yes,
Sharpen
please.
your sword and let the journey begin.
I like it. There we go. Perfect way to end it. We'll leave it there. All right. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Lori reminded us that purpose isn't found in comfort. It's revealed through reflection, resilience, and serving others. Whether you're navigating life's challenges or guiding others to discover their own Ikigai, her wisdom offers a powerful path forward. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone searching for meaning or navigating a hard season. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and never stop discovering your purpose.